probably seen this idiot. Now I get that I'm not really supposed to call it this idiot an idiot, but when he's so idiotic,
I'm gonna pray that he dies and goes to hell. I have no love!
I really don't have a choice.
You finally admit that Calvinism is true!
In fact, he's so idiotic that I don't like to refer to him as a pastor, and I will instead refer to him as
Mr. Anderson.
In fact, he is so idiotic that when he sat down and talked to Dr. James White,
I can't believe I'm saying this.
I was rooting for Dr. White. The only expertise that
Mr. Anderson.
has is being tased, hating gays,
And being super crazed.
and of course being the living embodiment of the very strawmen that the secular and religious left use to broad brush anyone that is right of their political or theological position by painting us all as bigoted as
Mr. Anderson.
Now, before you go there, no, I'm not advocating that we should be soft on sexual sins just because our culture says so, but consider the compassionate and loving way that Ray Comfort evangelizes to those who are gay.
And I can't believe I'm going to say this.
Look how nice even Dr. James White was when he debated this subject.
If only he could be half as nice to laying flowers.
Conversely, look at how
Mr. Anderson.
behaves with how actually homophobic is. I'm not saying he's secretly gay, I'm just saying that he is clearly overcompensating for something. And if news breaks that he and Ted Haggard become an item,
I won't be surprised.
the other issue is that
Mr. Anderson.
is used by Calvinists as an example of what happens if someone does not hold onto their form of sound doctrine, going past the countless good and perfect examples in order to find the one crazy nut to demonize the whole. This is simply nut-picking.
But that is the exact thing that you guys do when you compare mainline Calvinists to the Westboro Baptist Church.
Oh, you're wrong. This is a category error. When I look at the source material of Islam,
The Quran.
which instructs its followers to kill non-believers wherever they stand, and then see ISIS and jihadis doing this very thing, I'm like,
Yeah, makes sense.
just as when I look at the Westboro Baptist Church's source material,
Calvin's Institutes.
in which Calvin encourages to punish those who don't believe as he does with the fire and the sword, that those who are not elect
Reprobates.
are doomed from the womb, hated by God from eternity past. Then look at the hateful ways that the Westboro Baptist Church treats those who they deem as
Reprobates.
I'm like,
Yeah, makes sense.
oh, fun fact.
John Calvin has a higher body count than Hillary Clinton.
But when I see Calvinists attempt to use guilt by association tactics and cite Jacob Arminius as being the source material for
Anderson.
I'm like,
Right.
now consider the life of Jacob Arminius, a man who was respected for his demeanor and intellect, who, holding no political authority, spent the rest of his days discipling others, though ostracized as an outcast for teaching against the established theology of the state, who, like Jesus, taught God's love for all of humanity and desire for God to reconcile the world unto himself.
Man, sounds a lot like Jesus.
Now look at
Mr. Anderson.
attitude, mentality, and theology, which has no resemblance to the alleged source material of,
Jacob Arminius.
in fact,
Mr. Anderson.
has more in common with these guys than he does with these guys. And Jesus said, you will know them by their fruits, not the books they write, or sermons they preach. Lastly, the very fact that the majority of Calvinist trolls that I have to deal with at my page can only cite
Mr. Anderson.
as a main example of what a non-Calvinist preacher looks like shows that they are in fact as ignorant as himself. Dear Calvinist, I get that you don't want to accept the fact that you rightly belong to these hateful groups, but if your interpretation of Romans 9 is as you claim it is, the only difference between these guys and yourselves is that these guys are more honest with themselves and with others about what you guys both believe, which makes both you and
Mr. Anderson.